where they are. So Ludger, please introduce the subject. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Armin, for giving me the opportunity to set the scene for this session on driver behavior and acceptance. Well, I'm working in the European Commission, DG RTD, and as you probably know, the Commission is setting up together with many other stakeholders from industry, from academia, the European Partnership on Cooperative, Connected and Automated Mobility called STICAM, which should help to develop and deploy innovative, highly automated vehicles for passengers and freight. So, but before we can see these vehicles and automated mobility services on our roads, there are still many challenges ahead of us at different levels, at technical level, economic and legal level, but also very important at human and societal level. So it is very important to integrate ethical, societal, and user considerations from the start when the vehicles and systems are designed and developed. So as regards ethical challenges raised by automated vehicles, the European Commission formed an independent expert group which prepared a report earlier this year with recommendations to a variety of important ethical questions related to safety, data protection, for example, or also who is responsible for the behavior of automated vehicles in critical situations or in accidents. So in addition to ethical questions, we must also better understand all the other factors that are relevant for the acceptance of connected and automated vehicles. So we must look at what the concerns are of the users and what all types of different users really want. So many recent surveys have shown that there is still a lack of acceptance by citizens, but also by many policymakers related to the introduction and use of automated vehicles. Therefore, it is one of the key objectives of the new European partnership to do more research and testing, to gain the trust of the potential users and to develop user-oriented systems and services. The research user needs a driver behavior and human-oriented design is also a priority of the different calls for proposals in Horizon 2020 on automated roads, but also in mobility for growth. So therefore, I'm very curious now to learn more about the ongoing work of the Horizon 2020 projects like Suave, Drive to the Future, Trustonomy, and Pascal that all work on these aspects. So thank you very much. I wish you a nice session, and back to you, Amin.
To Suave, Jose Solas will present it will be presented, and please listen to Jose. Thank you very much. This was the fourth presentation of our session here, and I welcome everybody to ask his questions in the conversations. I will then pose the questions to the referring speakers. Please come to the desk, speakers, and then we can discuss a bit around all these projects. Yes. I would already start now with a question which is already set. Henriette asks about knowing if and how these projects, which have many overlapping topics, yes, but I think there are some distinguishable things as well, are collaborating together. I remember that that Evangelia mentioned some collaboration issues. So maybe how do they make sure to not replicate the activities? Evangelia, could you first start with replying to this? And please, if you unmute yourself, and thank you.
Yes. Thank you for the question. As I mentioned also in the presentation, we have a separated activity in our project, and I'm sure also in the other 3 projects they have also relative tasks regarding the consultation between these 4 projects. And we have started this from the beginning of our work. All the 4 projects are going on almost simultaneously in terms of duration. I mean, we started more or less together, and now we are in the middle. So from the very beginning, we have identified some common areas that all of you also identified during the presentations, and we have agreed to have cooperation. We have already performed some common dissemination activities, and now that we are in the middle of the project's duration, and we have some preliminary results for each project, we are planning to take it to the next step and meet again to see how we can combine our first results and how we can move forward from this point until the end of the projects in working in parallel, but at the same time with strong links with each other in order to take advantage of each other's work.
Thank you very much, Evangelia. Maybe the others would also show their views on that. I think this is very important and a very key question for the whole session. So please, maybe we go on with Jose or Stefano. Yes, please.
Hello.
Jose, if you start, yeah, please.
It's a question about the coordination. So we are all the members of the different consortium, we are in contact. So it's a coordinated action in some manner. So all of us, we make the different approaches. I think the philosophy of different projects is different. So I think each one of us tackles the same problem in a different manner. I found a question here. I don't know whether it's for me or for all of us. Just a short principle question. How can you assess the acceptance when even industry does not yet know the real content of level 5? Do you have this question in the screen? By Mathieu Reine.
Yes, but you want to answer it already? Or?
Yeah, yes, I can answer. Yeah, maybe my colleagues later can go on. Yeah, I absolutely agree. We're making hypotheses, all of us, about what will be level 5. But the concept of level 5, I think, is quite clear. It's going from A to B automatically. So what we do in Suave is to simulate different potential behaviors of a level 5 vehicle from a very, in a scenario in which we are very conservative. So the vehicle tries to follow the trajectory in a very quiet manner in which the comfort of the passenger is a priority, to a more aggressive driving in which what is a priority is to reach the B point at a certain time. So it's actually what we do is to know which will be the level of acceptance of the potential users in the near future. So we want the companies know a little bit more about which are the boundaries of acceptance of the autonomous vehicle.
Okay. Stefano, do you want to add to the first question about collaboration between the projects?
Yes. Thanks. Well, as Lila highlighted, that we started a collaboration between the projects several months ago. Then, of course, the COVID pandemic caused some problems in organization of other face-to-face meeting. We just closed successfully the first half of the project. As for Trustonomy, with the work on conceptualization mainly, we are now entering the phase of development and then of trials, where we will get more results in order to share our vision and the results of our experiments. That said, we passed the review just last week, and we got a message from the European Commission in order to establish more one-to-one relations with the project rather than plenary meetings and workshops, in order to focus more on the potential contact point between the projects rather than having plenary discussion on the general approaches. So this was the message from the European Commission, and I think that is worth trying to do something more, even virtually, but more near to the specific assets that we have, that are more that are easier to exploit in order to see how we can manage together. That's it.
Thank you very much. Luc, do you want to add something there, or is it already said?
Mostly has been already said, of course, but as mentioned before, I had some discussion in March, just before the first lockdown in Brussels, and a series of activities has been identified. As already said, also face-to-face meetings are not allowed for the moment, but I think that for instance, for Pascal, of course, with the experimental outcomes and also the guide for autonomy, I think that there will be some recommendations that will be shared between the different projects, and we are also expecting maybe some indication from the project officer during the review for more dedicated action with the different projects. That's it.
Thank you very much. Look, there's another question already coming up for you, especially on government control. Seems to be one of the major negative expectations of CAV.
Yeah.
How do you propose to tackle this?
So first, in the different work package, and this is the case in the Pascal project, there is some activities about ethics and data protection management. So the idea here is not to see how at the ethics level we can share or collect some information about users, anonymize this information and so on, and see also which kind of data can be accessible to each kind of actors. So this work is made for all the activities where we can collect some information in the project, and also there will be a series of recommendations not only on the technologies and fears and so on, but also on this aspect of data privacy for the different stakeholders. So it will come in the second part of the project. But of course, this dimension of privacy and see where people are and what they are doing is one of the major fear collected until now.
But if I may also add a comment on this survey, which was shown there, I also see that it is very good that the, let's say, societal results which had been expected also from the Commission are seen also by the public and by the people. So the positive side was very nice as well, and it was not a surprise to have this privacy things in the negative one. So very good.
And just to complete my answer, in fact, all this information, the positive one and negative one, will serve for the next activities during the experiment with the simulators, the experiment with the pilots, and the trainings, of course.
And I can add a comment, or Lila, if you may also add what you have written in the conversations for everybody on the consultation.
No, it's just that as Henriette posed the question and she thanked me for the answer, and I know she mentioned that she comes from SHOW project. I just commented that SHOW is also one of the projects that we are in close cooperation. We started some cooperation with, and as they're planning a consultation meeting soon, we're looking forward to follow that.
So also from my personal perspective, I think this is very good to really not only have results in a project, but even during running projects, transfer the lessons learned to the next one, and so have a consistent flow of information in the future. So that's very good.
Yes, and
perfect.
Yes, and as Stefano mentioned, this is very strongly encouraged also from the Commission side, and it is important because it is work that is, as Jose said, it's differently structured and with separated, let's say, means and aims. However, I think that we can combine at some level our findings at that lie in the same topics, and I think that from that we can get out some additional results and additional findings within our scopes. Thank you very much. I have another question, which was a bit new to me. It was in the Suave project, Jose, about you mentioned the word empathic. So I like the idea to have empathic autonomous vehicles. Yeah. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah. When we started thinking about autonomous vehicle and we conceived Suave, well, I'm an engineer myself, okay, but we lack this human perspective. What's empathic is a module that tries to know how are you while you are in an autonomous vehicle. We suppose that in level 4, level 5, there will be some moments in which you can feel anxious, you can feel nervous, you can feel probably not so good being guided by a robot. So inside of Suave, we have some sensors focused on the driver and the passengers. So the idea of empathic is to give orders to the engine, to the artificial intelligence of the autonomous vehicle in order to modulate, in order to fine-tune the behavior, considering the feelings of the people that's inside. So that's empathic in some manner that there's a non-verbal communication, like a human kind of communication between the autonomous vehicle and the people, trying to understand their feelings. That's empathic.
Fantastic. I like the idea to have this in the fit later. Okay. So, well, there are no other questions coming up in the conversations, so we should finish this session now. And please, to all listeners, go back to the lobby. There's a debriefing.
Sorry, Armin.
What is going on?
Armin, sorry, there are a few questions that arise, including from Ludger.
Sorry.
Had some connection issues.
Just came in. Sorry. Okay, so I didn't see it. So, okay, Ludger asked a question. Oh, maybe Ludger, it's your floor. You can ask your question directly.
Yes, hello, Evangelia. Maybe this is a question to you. On Drive to Future, I think you mentioned that you are also working on user requirements and design issues for other transport modes. Is that right? So I would be interested to know in which areas you could see maybe some cooperation, or where it makes sense to exchange some experiences and lessons learned. For example, maybe the road side could learn maybe from the air transport side in terms of human-machine interface, or vice versa. I don't know. Maybe you mentioned that in your presentation that there might be some exchange of lessons learned. What could be the areas?
Well, actually, we have identified this issue since the proposal stage, and we have a dedicated activity on this, on the transferability of solutions between different modes, as Drive to the Future is not only focused on road, we include all 4 transport modes. So this activity has already worked, is almost finalized. I mean, the deliverable is out, but it remains alive to update throughout the rest of the duration of the project. And there has been a structured approach through interviews with experts and also workshop in order to identify, as you said, the solution and the areas. And of course, HMI is one of these areas. Also, training is one of the areas where exchange can be could be possible, because, for example, in the air sector, automation is working for several years, and even though the situations are different, the experience of how to train the users, the drivers, the pilots in the air case can give very valuable indications of how to do it in other modes. But apart from training, as you said, it is HMI that could be adapted for the needs of each mode accordingly. And also standardization issues could be of interest. I mean, on how to take the process. And there is actually a very long table with with all these indications, and the deliverable has been finalized and will be shortly available in our website. So I would invite everyone interested to download and get more into detail for this.
Okay, thank you. There's another question coming up for Luke. How is the participants' experience in the simulator measured with interviews and questionnaires, objective measures?
Yeah, so I was starting to answer by the chat, but it's easier by talking. In fact, in all the experiments, we have defined a protocol, and in this protocol, there are some part dedicated to the questionnaires, and this questionnaire has I have two parts. One that is generic for all the experiments and the pilots and so on, and the second part is more dedicated to the specific and dedicated experiments. It's one part, so by questionnaire, but also in some experiments and simulators, there will be some sensors to detect the emotions of people. So, and we have some sensors by the watch, for instance, and to detect heartbeats and so on, and also glasses to follow the eye tracking for some of the experiments. So, and the combination of all this information will allow us to collect the different information and feedbacks from the users.
Thank you very much. I would also raise the question to drive to the future again. Could you give us some examples on the skills and traveling preferences, which I noted being quite interesting for the future? So examples, what are the major lessons learned for what skill, which new skills are necessary, and what will be the traveling preferences for these people in your questionnaire?
Yes, regarding the skills, this is a very important topic and very, let's say, up-to-date, trendy, if we may say, because there is a lot of discussion about the employability and how will automation will influence the work in the area of transportation, whether whether jobs will be affected with the introduction of automation. However, through the research performed also in previous projects and within Drive to the Future, it has been seen that maybe it is evident that also new jobs will emerge from that, and in order to take advantage of these new jobs, it is important that people are trained and have the competent skills, and these are mostly related to IT. Advance of IT knowledge in order to be able to manage automated vehicles from the side of the operator in a management center, for example, or as a remote driver, if we may say, and also issues of related to cybersecurity. This is also a very important topic, and people working in the transport sector should be aware of. The list is very long. There are some common issues and some between the modes, and some mode specific. It could take a lot of time, but I think the most important thing is to be accustomed with the new specificities, with the technical part, with the HMI and so on, so that it will be more efficient use of the new technologies.
Thank you very much. Any comments in this direction from the others, maybe?
I think that
yeah, please.
Yeah, well, no, just related with I think all my colleagues are talking. I think we are somehow establishing, I wouldn't say the rules, but I think the challenges of this level 4, level 5. So I think that we are, focusing on existing problems, because there are still some things to discover, like my colleague Luke talking about the sensors inside the vehicle, or Evangelina, or we are thinking in problems that it doesn't exist, but it will be in the near future. So I think that our role is to to clear the path of the companies. That I think mostly what we're doing right now, not answering technical questions exactly, but to making questions and trying to at least give some light about what will we find in the near future.
Absolutely, I fully agree. New questions coming up. Have you noticed any significant difference in acceptance of automation depending on countries, regions in Europe? To be honest, I don't know who can answer best. It's up to you.
Not yet, I would say.
Okay.
Not yet.
From our questionnaire survey, I think that, as expected, it is the acceptance levels are higher in the Central and Northern Europe, as there are already automated pilots running there for some time now, and it is. I think that as people come more in acquaintance with the system, the acceptance rises. So this is why in all 4 projects we focus a lot on piloting and on getting people experience to the possible level, of course, at this moment. What it means to be in an automated vehicle, what it feels like being on the road and meeting an automated vehicle, because this is also very important, the interaction with the other road users. So I think the acceptance raises with experience. This is what I would put as a headline.
Yeah. Maybe we're talking about acceptability right now. We were talking about acceptability. That's the will or the trend to use autonomous vehicle. Acceptability is before using it, and acceptance is, as Lila said, after using the autonomous vehicle. Yeah. So, but we made the studies, and we didn't find really differences between European countries in this level of acceptability in this willing to use the autonomous vehicle. Although I've read some report that found differences between cultures between the States and Asia and Europe. I think that there will be some different questions that between or among Europeans.
Okay, Ludger, if you want to take the floor again. You have mentioned a question, and maybe you asked it by yourself.
Thank you. I think the question is very clear. I would be interested just from your experience now, what you have done in your projects in the past years. Where do you see now for the future after these projects will end further needs for further research in the future in terms of user needs acceptability of connected and automated vehicles?
Maybe
Well,
yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, just to break the ice. I just start from the trustonomy project point of view. I mean, trustonomy is trust in autonomy, and one of the most curious things that we have seen presenting the project also for non-technical persons about trust is that if we find on eBay some tools that are allowed to cheat your car so that they continues to drive autonomously, even if you're not paying attention or you're not paying the attention that the car deserves, then the level of trust is really high, because you accept to cheat your vehicle so that the vehicle does not bother you with sounds, alarms or warnings. This is the case of some tools that can be bought, for example, for Tesla vehicles. I think that one thing about the psychological acceptance and trust and all that stuff, I think as soon as we encounter autonomous systems that behaves. I've seen my kids look in the video of Boston Dynamics with robots, for example. I mean, the level of acceptance on something that is so different and something that acts on their own from the psychological point of view seems, I think, it deserves a lot of research. Technology apart, I mean, the technological level is something, of course, that must be there, and the level of trustability, the level of acceptability, everything should be there. But the psychological factors, I think, is something that deserves attention for a bit more.
May I question this a bit, because what Lila just said was that it changes with experience. So how to do this psychological research without the real experience? Because I think it's a big difference if you are sitting in a simulator or if you are really under the pressure of avoiding a crash or something in roads today. So. And under adverse weather conditions, for example. So I was not very happy this morning driving to the office under snow in Munich. So I have a very direct experience just now. What do you think, Stefano?
For me, I mean, well, acceptance comes with use, basically. I mean, all the technology, any technology. Just think of your smartphone. Just think of OK Google and something that answer you. Thinks of Alexa. Things of something like that. So, well, I said OK Google, and my smartphone just started searching for something. That's it. I mean, that's acceptance. Basically, I mean, the true acceptance will be there as soon as the autonomous vehicles will be everywhere, but basically are used and largely used. Then, of course, there is a gap that we have to fill as for the technological levels. Because I've seen also some comments on our social media channels by experts in the field saying, okay, you're working on trust and autonomy, but what about the technology? What about the safety level, the security, the autonomous decision that the system makes in case of in boundary condition, in case of emergency? In trustonomy, we focus on the request to intervene scenario when you switch between the autonomous mode and the manual mode. We focus on a very specific part of the whole driving experience, but yet, of course, this is so delicate, and some events can impress so much the public opinion that, of course, technology should be perfect in that sense, and then in parallel we should build trust and acceptance and so on.
Okay. Yes, and something interesting about what Stefano said and you said, Armin. Yes, we are, the avid when we see the apps apps about autonomous vehicle, we always see, a clean road that's perfect without no cars around you, and, driving autonomously seems, a paradise. But in real life, as you said, there will be snow, there will be rain, there will be plenty of things. So this trust and this acceptance has to do much more in very compromised scenarios. So I think that we need further research in technology, absolutely, but also simulating, maybe with remote pilot vehicles that emulate level 4, level 5, but are remotely driven, in which we can put the drivers and passengers in scenarios that are a little bit more, challenging. Because when everything is fine, everybody accepts, the vehicle. But will you trust, in a traffic jam when it's rainy or it's snowing? And do you trust the robot? Really, do you? So I think that those scenarios are nowadays something that we have to focus or think how to tackle them.
Yeah, thank you. Any more comments on that? So no other questions had been coming up. Any other things you want to mention, or any other points to raise? If not, then I think, yes, Ludger, please. Are you muted, or?
Now you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Sorry, Armin, since we still have a little bit of time, I have another question. Because many projects, several of you mentioned that you're also looking at legal and ethical issues. I think especially there it would be very important also that you cooperate and work together, because I think it is very important to address the ethical issues. I would be interested to know, what exactly are you looking at? I mean, there are many different ethical dimensions related to connected and automated driving. So what are exactly your plans related to addressing ethical issues? Thank you.
Well, in Trustonomy, we cope with several different aspects of the trust and acceptance in autonomous vehicles. We divided the 6 pillars and frameworks we have into 3. One is about autonomous driving systems. So one is about a system that should make some consideration on risk assessment during the autonomous driving experience, and the system that is taking decision on behalf of the driver. So the ethical part that we are coping with is including this technological developments of the project. The other pillars are not coping so much with ethical and ethics per se. So probably we are not coping that much with that aspect. So I leave the floor to the other projects. Maybe they have more on that.
I listened to Jose. He mentioned you mentioned also ethical considerations in your project. So maybe you could follow up on that.
Yeah, we together in the Saddle project we have a research line specifically dedicated to ethics. So with the 2 universities working on that field. And we are inside of our behavior model that's called Alfred. It's working on ethics algorithms, how to include the ethics in the algorithms that make or modulate or attune the response of the autonomous vehicle. From another part of the ethics that has to do with the right to the transport. So we are comparing different countries in the frame of the autonomous vehicle. So we are tackling ethics from 2 perspectives, so including these ethical algorithms inside the behavior of this Alfred module, and on the other side, the ethics related with the access to the autonomous vehicle by everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yes. In Drive to the Future, apart from ethics considerations regarding the project implementation, the pilot's conduction and so on, we also have a dedicated activity on the ethical, sociocultural and gender issues, which deals mostly with issues related to data privacy and management, which is a big issue related to automation, as a large amount of personal data are handled during the trips. And also regarding issues of the inclusion of women in the transportation sector as working in the working perspective, and as well as any other socio-cultural diversities that might be relevant in terms of the deployment of connected and automated vehicles. So in this sense, apart from extensive literature reviews, we have some focus groups that we plan to do in the next period of the project. And of course, this is a topic that is very much evolving, and every day new things arise, especially regarding to data privacy and management issues. So we try to keep close monitor of the progress in the topic and include it in our work.
Okay, thank you. Stefano, Luc, any more comments? Or
yes, in fact, in Pascal,
thank you, everyone.
There is some ethical issues for the project management for all the different projects, and for the outcome of the project also in the guide to autonomy. In fact, there will be part regarding the human component aspect of acceptance, and in this frame there will be some aspect regarding the privacy that will be put in the guide of autonomy.
Ebru asked, thank you, Ebru. Ebru is obviously partner of Suave. Thank you, Ebru. You know you're here. So she also she's in charge of this ethics part. So she commented to me. She answered, in the conversation. So we are focusing on vehicle mobility separately. So that's reflected in the cases that we're dealing with: non-compliance with the traffic rules, unavoidable accidents, and changes in urban landscape with automated mobility. So we additionally, with an inclusive approach, we focus on the expectation of different road user groups, including vulnerable groups such as road users with disabilities and pedestrians. So thank you, Ebru, for the contribution.
Thank you very much. Stefano, any further comments or?
No, well, basically, the ethics directive part, as I said, in autonomy is concentrated in the part that makes some research on the autonomous decision of the system in order to avoid. So I don't enter too much into technicalities because it's not my domain of expertise. But so if you have any specific question on the pillars that we have, the technical pillars that you've seen in our presentation, we are more than happy to answer you and to provide a direct contact with the people in the Université Gustave Eiffel that are doing that research so that they can provide you more actionable information. On the other side, just as a DPO for the project and a DPO for the company where I work in, one other aspect about legal aspects that should be stressed in this case, considering that we will have large pilots, or hopefully we will have large pilots as soon as this COVID pandemic finishes. Let's hope so. We have to cope with privacy as well, which is not that easy. But if we enroll a lot of external participants, since also for autonomy, but I think it's the same for the other project, we mix measures, objective measures with the questionnaires and so on. In any case, since we are evaluating trust, acceptance, etc., we have to pay attention to the way we collect it, the way we share, the way we use this data, because there is a framework out there to manage this data, and we should pay attention to that. Just a minor remark about something that we should consider.
Okay, what I've learned from this discussion is that maybe we could even for the future think about having, let's say, two ways of looking at ethics. One is looking really into the algorithms and the decision making in traffic situations, which is very concrete and which is, from my perspective, very well covered in many discussions and also in the ethical guidelines of the EU Commission. Maybe there's the other part of the ethics discussion around vulnerable road users and how to include all areas of the society in this kind of ethical consideration of inclusiveness. So this is a completely different story, and it's, I think it's also covered in the ethical guidelines, and definitely in the German ones, yeah, which I know quite well. So yes, yeah, these are two different subjects, and they need maybe to be tackled differently as well.
Yeah. The comment of Hebrew, I think, is very interesting because we are not, 30 to 50 years old male driving cars, so there are different road users, vulnerable people with disabilities, pedestrians, and and as Hebrew say, there will be also cultural aspects and differences. So all that is part of ethics too.
Yeah. And thank you, Ingrid, for supporting this. Yeah. Okay, Lila.
In terms of automation, the vulnerable road user term becomes broader because a vulnerable road user might be the non-connected user of the transport system. So yes, this brings more items in the equation, let's say.
Absolutely, yeah, fully agree.
Absolutely. Just a last word for me regarding the legal aspects. In the Pascal project, we will also have some recommendation for new road driving rules, maybe, and also some certification aspects related to these rules.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay. Well, there's no questions open in the conversations. Yes. Yes, Ingrid mentions another point here in the conversation now. It can be unethical not to make AVs available to certain parts of society if AVs meet all or some of the expectations and dreams. Well, this is really, yes, absolutely, I fully agree. But yes, at last, we are talking about mixed traffic for a long period for the future, I think. And so accessibility and let's say covering everything in the society, let's say at last, will be a very long way to go, but absolutely agree to think of it from the beginning.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you. This, I think, quite nice last word. Thank you, Ingrid, for that. And so we could now 5 minutes earlier than planned, but I think we have a very good discussion on all these issues. I'm looking forward to having the consultation there, and hopefully we will see that things are very much hand in hand and will promote future looking at that issues on driver behavior and acceptance. So thanks a lot again for all you speakers and your sessions contribution, and thank you very much. Please look to the lobby. We will have a summary of our session in a few minutes there, and please follow up on the whole conference. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure to see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you soon.